Dub Zone. More silverware insight for Sydney FC. The Sky Blues Matildas star Cortnee Vine is tonight's special guest. The Wanderers dig deep to put one foot in the finals, but it's a horror night for Western United and their star striker. And out of thin airs, Melina's dramatic double for the Jets ensures a photo finish to the regular season. Hello and welcome to Dub Zone. I'm Niav Owens. Awesome to have you with us this evening and to be here alongside A-League's commentator, Pellizzeri. Hello, Teo.
Great to see you, Niav.
Good to see you too. And former Matilda, Alicia Ferguson. Hi, Ish.
Hello, Nevo.
It felt like finals are just around the corner this weekend, Teo. We saw some cracking games and a bit of spice too.
The circumstances were met by the contests and the football. I can't wait to launch into all of it.
We will, and we're going to launch straight into a chat with Matildas star Cortnee Vine, Sydney FC striker as well. Court, so good to see you. The Premier's plate is oh so close for Sydney FC once again. It feels like, in terms of your form, in terms of the team's form, that this Sky Blues side is hitting their straps at the right time.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on Dub Zone. Yeah, look, it is falling very nicely, but we don't like to think about it too much. We like to just focus on one game at a time. Obviously, I'm super proud of the girls and what we've accomplished this year, but it's not over. You know, we still want that premiership played and a grand final win as well. So we still got a lot to play for. But yeah, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself or the team for the next couple of games coming up.
Courts, just a question. After such an epic World Cup, how did you manage to recharge and reset and get yourself focused on the A-League women's season?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, by the way, but it hasn't really been, there hasn't been much downtime, to be completely honest with you, post-World Cup. It kind of blew me away coming back into reality after being in a bubble for so long, and obviously the impact that the Matildas had. I didn't really realise it until I came out back to the real world and out of the bubble that I realised the effect we had, the Matildas effect that everyone likes to call it. But yeah, I guess I just tried to spend as much time as I could with my partner, with my family, and just spend as much time with myself and downtime as possible. But it's quite difficult when there's a lot of opportunities post that World Cup.
Yeah, and look, for you personally, you had a few injuries earlier in the season, but you look fit, you look healthy, you're playing with a smile on your face, and you're scoring goals. You're scoring a variety of goals, and I just wanted to ask, how do you see your role in the team? Because you've added different elements to your game this season.
Yeah, I have scored a bit of different goals this year. Yeah, I think for me, I think it's being that role model for the girls this year. I think Auntie's wanted me to really dive into that and be a bit more of a leader this year. I think enjoying it is one of the things I've always said is where the performance comes from. It's enjoying the football, and obviously when your body's right and you're feeling fit and you're feeling injury-free, it does make you happy. So doing that and also enjoying getting to know the girls and playing with them again for the fourth year is just, yeah, it just makes things flow, I think.
A perfect lead in there, Courtney, to mention the leadership and the mentoring, because on the right flank today, Kaylee Taylor-Henniker scored her second goal of the season. This is a player that has a lot of similar traits to your own. What sort of advice and what sort of mentoring are you giving to someone that seems to be following in your footsteps with how she's approaching the A-League Women's?
Yeah, obviously she's stepped up and she's scoring goals at the moment. You know, being 18 and scoring the W-League, or A-League, sorry, is massive. And, you know, if I was scoring back then, I'd be very happy with myself. So I think she's doing such a good job, and she's still got a lot to learn, a lot with like the other girls as well. But they're doing a really good job. And on that right flank, again, she does have the same kind of attributes as me with the speed. But again, I think I learned a lot in those years from 18 to probably 22, I'm going to say. So she's got a lot to learn, but she's doing a really good job at the moment.
And there are a lot of young Matildas that came back to the training environment this week after being away, telling that none of them were in the starting 11, though. How competitive has training been since they all returned? And you've got this countdown to finals with what I imagine is a very difficult 11 for all your teammates to break into.
Yeah, it's training at Sydney FC is always competitive. It's been competitive from the pre-season. But then coming back, obviously they want their spots back. They left having starting spots. So this last week, yeah, they've come back wanting that. And I'm sure training will be like that in the next few days as well. But yeah, they're positive. I think they want to just come on now and also do their job well, which they're doing. So it's competitive, but it always is.
Mackenzie Hawkesby, since she rejoined Sydney FC, has been phenomenal. Her assist stats are next level, and you guys have worked on an incredible combination yourself. How important has her return been for Sydney FC this season?
Yeah, Macca's great. Obviously, we missed her, I think, at the start of the season. We missed that work rate that Macca provides, and also that, I guess, collaboration that she has with the front three, including myself. I feel like me and Macca have a very good connection, and I do get a lot of good balls in behind from Macca. So I do love playing with her, and I think she's added a massive amount to this team. I don't think we'd be in the position we're in now without her. So she's doing an amazing job, and yeah, I always think she's the best assister and one of the best in the league. So it's no surprise to me.
Courts, big announcement this week that the A-League Women All-Stars are going to be playing against Arsenal. So hopefully you'll be in that team and coming up against some of your Tilly's teammates. Just how important is this game for the development of the league and also playing against some world-class competition in Arsenal, a very successful women's team?
Yeah, I think it's a massive opportunity for the A-League girls to come up against these Arsenal ladies and see the quality that they provide. And I guess it's basically playing like an international game with the quality that they have. So getting international exposure for these A-League girls, and myself included, against a team like Arsenal is massive. And the exposure in Australia for fans to come watch, yeah, it's massive. You've got some big names coming, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I'm a part of it.
And speaking of the exposure, those Arsenal crowds, they're setting a benchmark in the WSL, which is the envy of almost all women's club football, Arsenal and Barcelona standing alone. But Sydney FC, relatively speaking, have had amazing fans and fantastic crowds this season. How important is it that this All-Stars experience allows our competition to keep chasing that standard that the WSL and Arsenal have been setting?
Yeah, I think we get some amazing crowds to our game. Obviously, we started our season with, I think it was 11,500 coming to our game, which was a great way to start the A-League. But yeah, I think it's massive, and Arsenal do set the tone for the footsteps that we want to take for this league. And I do think the WSL in general is something that we want this league to become. I think it takes work, it takes investment, it takes fans coming to the games consistently, and I do think this game against Arsenal will show, I guess, how many people still love football, but hopefully the A-Leagues can put on a good show against Arsenal and, yeah, encourage more people to come watch the A-League next year.
Courts, just for you personally, so a couple of years in the Matildas setup now, how have you developed and seen yourself develop personally and professionally during that time?
I think, I've developed quite a bit. Being in the Matildas, I think you learn a lot from the players around you, and being in such a professional environment where, coming from the A-Leagues where the professionalism needs to be lifted, but in Matildas, it's this, you get everything at the palm of your hands. You get physios, you have coaches, you have tactical analysis, you have massage therapists, physios, you have all this access to such a professional environment, which is massive. And then on top of that, having players that play for Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, Lyon, like massive clubs around you, you can't help but get better. And I think for me, it's definitely brought my game to a different level. Yeah. And
not to mention a documentary crew annoying you all the time.
Yes, you're one of them.
and just on the Matildas, obviously the Mexico game is coming, and then at the end of the A-League women's season, the matches against China. What do you see yourself as needing to do to make sure that you are in the final squad for Paris once the upcoming run of friendlies have been played?
Yeah, for me at the moment, obviously I'm just focusing on the A-League season and trying to score more goals, get more assists, win games, win trophies. I want to be part of that Olympic squad, and I feel like in order for me to do that, it's to play well in clubland and also in these friendlies, show Tony what I can do. But it is out of my control, but I'll do my very best at any chance I get. So.
Big Blue next weekend, Court, with plenty to play for. You guys fighting for the Premier's plate, Melbourne Victory fighting for a spot in the finals. Does it feel like finals kind of start next week for you guys?
I Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like it starts Wednesday against Canberra. For us, I feel like that's a massive game and that's what we're focusing on. But yeah, I forgot it was the Big Blue on the weekend as well. That's a massive game and it always is the Big Blue, but both teams have a lot to fight for and it's always an interesting game against Victory and it's great that it's the last game.
You forgot, come on, you want to knock Victory out a week early, don't you? You don't want them coming back to haunt you in a grand final again?
Honestly, I'm not thinking about it. I'm thinking about Canberra.
Oh, straight bat. We love it. We love it.
Well, good luck on Wednesday night and indeed next weekend in the Big Blue. We can't wait to watch you in action again.
Thank you.
Cortnee Vine joining us. Sydney FC Matildas striker in fine form at the perfect time of the season as well. Speaking about that Premier's Plate, Melbourne City right there in the running as well. They took on Central Coast Mariners this weekend. You were calling the game, Ishi. It was 3-0, but it didn't feel as one-sided as that scoreline suggests. City looked sharp and the Mariners really struggled to take their opportunities.
Yeah, they did create opportunities and a lot of it was through City trying to play out and maybe not having the quality. There were some uncharacteristic mistakes when they did play out, but they were pretty clinical in front of goal. I think Amina Ekic had another great game. Hannah Wilkinson popped up for a little poacher's goal. Shelby McMahon, I'm really impressed with. What a talent she is as well. But, you know, I think it'll be a missed opportunity for Central Coast because they didn't put away their chances. Kai had one in the first half where she put it over the bar and usually she would put that in. This penalty, I think she'll be, you know, pretty frustrated with that. She held her calf afterwards. Wasn't moving so well for the rest of the game, but I mean, it was close, but, you know, Taylor Otto, big defender. I love seeing defenders score. They get so excited, don't they? Look at her. Look how excited she is scoring a goal. But, look, City did what City do. They still maintain possession. They want to play out from the back. They stick to their philosophy. And a bit of a missed opportunity for Central Coast.
City controlled their destiny to finish in the top two, go straight to the semis, avoided an elimination final. But what have you seen football-wise that suggests they can overcome losing their last three finals? Last two seasons, they've gone out in the elimination games.
I think what they've got a really strong attacking group of players and good options. I think Pellizzeri came off the bench and made a difference on the weekend. They've got Daniela Garlich, Hannah Wilkinson. I'm really a big fan of Amina Ekic. Think she's a great player. But, you know, attack is their form of defence with the way they play and they want to play out from the back and it's always going to leave them susceptible at times, but that's their philosophy and they're going to stick to it. The key thing is, all right, you don't want to concede, but it's scoring more than the other team, like Football 101. We score one more than them and we win it.
Dario Vidosic was up and about for this game. He was really roaring his side on. Do you think that's a sign that finals are on the horizon or maybe a sign they were a little bit flat last week in the Melbourne Derby and he was looking to help them get that lift?
Yeah, potentially both. It was great listening to him on the sideline because it was like a coaching course 101. So things he was saying, was big on the recovery run. So every time they turned over possession in the final third, getting back was the priority and they did that really well. There was also closing down and he was giving information about the angles of where closing down, so trying to push players and force Central Coast into certain areas. But, yeah, I think, you know, getting the team going and he was up for it as well yesterday.
We've mentioned Melbourne Victory a couple of times already in this show, Teo. They took on Newcastle Jets yesterday, Arvo, 3-2 in the end. I don't even know where to start with this game because it had everything, cracking goals, a bit of almost biff. You called this game. Newcastle were absolutely desperate to get the win, weren't they?
Yeah, minute 1 to minute 90, this was as high intensity as you'll see outside of the finals, maybe even more than some finals. Newcastle had hit the crossbar twice before Victory take the lead here through Rachel Lowe, and Victory did take the lead twice in this game, but Newcastle showed real character to fight back. They keep their season alive going into next weekend, and they now play on Friday before the other teams they're chasing, Victory and Wanderers, in that top six. So they get to go first to try and put the heat on further up the table. But this game had everything. Victory will rue some chances. They missed it 2-1 up. And then Melina Ayres, her first goal since the middle of October.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see her back in goal-scoring form. I think what Newcastle are doing is that they're playing to their strengths, aren't they? So they're really utilising Serena Bolden, those direct balls into the box. They've got, you know, she's such a great target player. I mean, this was a fantastic strike. Love to see that. Ball straight, foot straight through the ball. Great strike from Melina Ayres. But I think on the flip side with the victory, it's kind of been a bit of a story of their season, hasn't it? They're just a little bit inconsistent. I think they'll be frustrated with that.
There was a real tactical contrast in that the three-player press, Bolden, who started before she was subbed off for Ayres, Sophie Hoban, Lauren Allen as the front three, and even Emma Dundas in attacking midfield, they pressed and they really stretched the game. And victory left big gaps in midfield. And Elise Kellon-Knight, she wasn't risked with a knock back on the 3rd of March. It's been 3 games now. They're really missing her presence in the centre of the pitch.
Yeah, I thought that. I did the Melbourne derby last week, and I thought that KK, just being that link-up play, that number 6, between the defence and between the attack and always being available. And without her in the squad, what it meant that Chids wasn't getting too much ball further up the field, Alex Chidiac, and so was having to come deep because she wants to get on the ball all the time, Chids. But you don't want to see her in the centre third of the park. You want to see her further forward where she can create things, and that's where she loves playing as well. So hopefully we see KK back in that squad soon.
It did get a bit spicy late, Teo. Em Gilnick frustrated with what she perceived to be some time wasting, and things escalated fast from there.
It certainly did, but Rebecca Dirkow is right there on the scene, and the referee's the arbiter of what's time wasting. The players can't take it into their own hands, which is what Izzy Nino quite literally did and got herself sent off. And if this is violent conduct, it'll be 3 games and potentially out until the second leg of a semi-final if Newcastle go that far. I mean, Mindy Barbieri has every right to wind the clock and time waste because the referee, Rebecca Dirkow, she's policing it. She's right there. I think Emily Gielnik may be a little bit lucky not to be sent off herself.
No, I think, you're not allowed to choke people. So that's not part of the game. I think Em had the contact, but the retaliation and the violent contact... I'm not
arguing. Nino had to go. I think Em could have gone with her, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think there was 2. I think a yellow card was a fair punishment for both of them. But, Em's got a little smile on her face. I'd put my money on Em, to be honest. She does lots of boxing. She's pretty strong. Got the gun show going on. But, I mean, what was Nino thinking? Honestly, what are you doing? What's going on? What are you doing?
And credit to the Newcastle defence. Lily Rose Dunbar, 17 years old, made her debut coming on after the red card, but the Newcastle defence protected her. 7 minutes on the pitch, didn't actually have to touch the ball, didn't have to make a save. Real sign of maturity that the Jets defence were able to protect her.
And it means that Victory now need to get something out of the Big Blue next weekend, Ish. They have looked amazing, unbeatable at times this season, but it's been a rollercoaster ride, and it's crazy to now think this star-studded Victory side could potentially miss finals.
Yeah, it would be a real shame, and I think they would reflect on it and be really disappointed if that was the case. And also, I think, looking inwardly to themselves, not necessarily losing games where teams are outplaying them and stuff like that, but because of their own errors, even a couple of those goals against Newcastle were actually their own undoing. And that's when you get really frustrated. You can hold your hands up if you're getting outplayed, get picked apart, teams are scoring good goals against you, but it's the ones where you switch off and your decision-making is poor that really annoy you.
Newcastle and the Western Sydney Wanderers fighting for a place in that top 6. The Wanderers game was next up on Saturday evening, Teo. They beat Western United. It was 1-1 at half-time. Wanderers lucky to perhaps still be in the contest at that point. And then in the second half, it became the Sophie Harding show.
It did, because Wanderers, they spotted Western United a big lead. Hannah Keane scores here from a scrap. There was another one which they should have scored from. Western United ended up out-XGing Wanderers in this game. The majority of those chances were good chances in the first half. Once they were level, bit of fortune to it. Shouts about offside. Ella Buchanan, 2 goals for the season for a mid-season train on elevated to a contract, by the way, which was brilliant. And then Ish in the second half, Kush LaRue celebrates her contract extension. 2 more years, she gets 2 assists for Sophie Harding off the bench.
Yeah, with this goal, I actually thought maybe she should have played the ball earlier. And to Sophie Harding's credit, she managed to stay onside. And Kush LaRue, another great slide pass in here. Again, this is what Wanderers have been doing when they actually play to their strengths, using it when there's space in behind the opposition defence. Get the ball into Sophie Harding. And what Sophie has also improved on, and she said it herself, is her finishing. And she's been working hard on it this season. And it's, again, similar with other players with pace. Now they're becoming a more holistic player where they've got other elements to the game, similar to what we were talking about with Cortnee Vine.
Hannah Keane, big issue, Teo. She went down with a knee injury. It didn't look pretty at all. She's had scans. What's the latest? So
Hannah Keane has been able to travel back to Melbourne, but the outcome of the scans not known just yet. Western United obviously hugely concerned. Keane was on the green whistle as she was treated here after this challenge from Alexia Apostolakis, and it left Keane obviously flawed and having to be carried off straight to hospital. Ish, Western United have been cursed by injuries in recent weeks, and this is yet another blow.
Yep, and they're all pretty major injuries, aren't they? And major injuries to major players. Taranto, Legazzo and now Keane. It's kind of like, why can't you catch a break, especially towards this end? And it's not just what Cat Smith is going to do personnel-wise, but your style of play is naturally going to change when you take 3 of those players out of the game. So do you change the formation? Are you just trying to switch like for like? You don't have like for like. How are you going to tinker with it to give yourself the best opportunity going into this final series? But also just, you know, all the best for Hannah's, for the outcome of that, because it looked really awkward. Obviously never good to see players stretch it off and be on the green whistle as well. But, yeah, real shame, real shame.
Fingers crossed. I mean, Western United, we spoke last week about Catherine Zimmerman's return. They've got Avani Prakash, maybe Chiara Di Demizio, maybe a wild card with a player playing out of position. But certainly the loss of Adriana Taranto and the cumulative effect of Chloe Legazzo, Hilary Beale returning to America. They haven't just lost talent, they've lost leadership, they've lost voices, and it all adds up.
Yeah, it sure does. They've got their spot in the finals locked up, but to go on any kind of run in the finals, they're going to need to find solutions fast. Canberra United can't play in the finals. They got a win, though, Teo, at McKellar Park over Wellington. And who else but to score the all-important goal than Michelle Heyman, who has one hand on that Golden Boot trophy already.
This was a bit of a Sunday afternoon stroll for long sections. Michelle Heyman scored the first great chance. She got a lot of Canberra's youngsters were getting the opportunities to score in this game, but when the veteran was needed, Michelle Heyman converted. Canberra win, and she's up to 15 for the campaign now, Ish.
Michelle doing Michelle things. Give her the service and she scores goals. I mean, I constantly say this. People think scoring goals is easy, and she makes it look easy. And again, she can score a variety of goals. Those 1v1s I love in those positions, but that was a call. I mean, great ball in by Nikki Flannery as well. Like, put that on a dime and she'll finish it. But, you know, great to see Michelle back in form, back in the Tilly squad as well. So
their combination has been awesome, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Nikki Flannery and Michelle Heyman, as we check out the Golden Boot standings. And you'd think, Teo, heading into the final round, it is all but Michelle's, although Serena Bolden, Sophie Harding have both had incredible seasons as well.
I guess the key is Heyman's got 2 games, all the rest have got 1, and Heyman away to Brisbane in the final round. I think 15 may not be the final tally. It could be 16 or more. So the others have all had great seasons to get into double figures each, but I think Heyman is safe with a 3-goal buffer from here.
I mean, can you believe, like, Canberra having the season that they've had and Michelle Heyman being there towards the bottom of the table and Michelle Heyman is, like, in for the Golden Boot? It's just, like, defies, like, logic, doesn't it? But, yeah, she's been in great form, had a great season.
Let's have a look at Brisbane's clash with Perth at Perry Park. Tough conditions there, Teo, but it was Brisbane. Neither team with any hopes of playing finals football at this stage. It was Brisbane who got the bickies in this.
Yep, signing off with a win. Sodden pitch after consistent rain throughout the game. This is a great little goal here, Ish. Kaya Stevenson. She's found a goal-scoring touch, which is a new dimension to her game in what is her second full season of A-League Women's. And then Sian Fryer, a player who you have appreciated the development of this season, coming back from an ACL, let's not forget, and showing that she's still very good at this level.
Well, again, Sian's got, you know, a huge number of assists. I think you've seen in previous games where she's been frustrated with her finishing in front of goal. And I tend to think that probably going forward, and this was great that she actually finished this, but she needs to work on that mental resilience within the game. So if she's got a chance and she misses it, she's just got to keep getting back up and going again. And I think sometimes you've seen her get really frustrated, kind of throw the hand down, you know, hands down, get frustrated with herself. But you just need to pick yourself back up. You're going to get another chance, and it was great to see her on the score sheet.
Let's have a look at the ladder then, heading into the final round of the regular season. We mentioned it off the top. Sydney FC looking good. They've got 2 games coming up and they're on top of the table at the moment in the fight for the Premier's plate. That Big Blue next weekend is going to be a cracker for multiple reasons. Top 2 get the weekend off, so that does really matter. West United, we've loved watching this season. We've mentioned how they're limping really into the finals. Some very bad luck on the injury front. But Teo, at the other end of the 6, still super interesting and makes for some spicy clashes next weekend.
It certainly does. Newcastle play in Adelaide on Friday, and don't forget, it's wins. They've got the tiebreaker over Melbourne Victory on wins, even though goal difference isn't close. So Melbourne Victory need a draw at a minimum against Sydney to qualify for finals. Same for Western Sydney Wanderers. They don't want to drop their bundle on Saturday afternoon over in Wellington. Newcastle, non-negotiable. They must win away in Adelaide. And it all counts down to Sunday 4 p.m. What a culmination to the season. And then, just for dessert, Melbourne City, just in case Western do win their game, they might still need something away in Perth to lock down second place on the table.
A big last week coming up and 2 games in there for Sydney FC as well. Now, the All-Stars concept was announced this week, and for the first time, we'll have an A-League women's team in that All-Stars game as well. Ish, it is such an exciting concept, but it is also a super exciting matchup. A-League All-Stars women's side up against the might of Arsenal.
Yep, it's going to be a tough match, and I think it'll be a fantastic spectacle for the fans. What I'm really excited, obviously we've got our 3 Tillies there, so we get to see them on the home soil, which is great, playing for their club team. But also in their squad, legend of the A-League, Kim Little, one of my favourite players. Jodie Taylor, who played down here in Australia for a number of seasons, is now on the backroom staff, so she's one of the football executives at Arsenal. So there's going to be a lot of familiar faces back in Australia and, you know, fantastic initiative and really hope the fans get behind it. And I think they will. It's great. It's Friday night, Marvel Stadium, watching Arsenal play at A-League All-Stars.
We saw the profound effect this had on the profile of Garang Kuol when the men's A-League All-Stars played Barcelona 2 seasons ago. I really want to see some of the Australians on the up that haven't been overseas yet in the shop window, like a Sophie Harding, maybe even someone like an Alexia Apostolakis, who had a fantastic tournament with the young Matildas. But in terms of being competitive in the game, we can't lose sight that we need to pick a strong team and put on a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I've been impressed with... we've got such a plethora of international attacking players. I think the key positions where we've had a huge influence with international players this season in the A-League is in goalkeepers. We've had some quality international goalkeepers and in attackers as well. I really was impressed, you know, Speckmeyer's had a good season with Wellington, even though they've still struggling to find their playing identity, struggling with the travel and stuff. And, like, I really liked Ergemile. Like, Ergemile's great. Like, she was a bit quiet on Saturday, but actually... I think Emily Husband made a fantastic signing in her, like, really dangerous player and also just a really good personality. Great celebrations, love that.
I think any Matildas that missed the China squad, I mean, it's going to be a 19-player squad, so I think a full 90 for someone like an Alex Chidiac, who realistically is probably not going to be in the Matilda squad to play China. It's a great showcase for someone like that, especially given that she's on a 3-year contract at Victory, and I'm sure they would love nothing more than to get a big bid from overseas.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what the considerations are: who's going to be the coaching, how much time they're going to have together before this game, and trying to work out how you're playing against a club team that play week in, week out, play Champions League football, have been together as a squad and are playing at that elite level against a bunch of players who are with different teams, and how you get that cohesiveness to happen quickly against a very, very good team is going to be crucial.
Does that mean then you start prioritising club combinations, and how do you weigh that up against form, experience? Who are you looking at?
Is this an interview for the head coach shop? Are you up for it? Yeah.
Can I pitch you on Rebecca Stott and Julia Grosso? I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah,
build the defence. Build the defence.
Yeah, the Jose Mourinho, build the defence, the spine of the team. Look, I think we could sit here talking about that all night, and I think it's great that there's so much talent and so much quality to choose from, and trying to get those combinations right. Yeah, it's like trying to put all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together, isn't it?
And you do get a vote, because voting opens on Tuesday, aleagues.com.au, so you'll be able to pick your All-Stars team, put your vote in. Their tickets go on sale on Wednesday as well, and this is going to be a cracker. It happens the night before the A-League Men's Grand Final, so a whole heap to look forward to in May. Ishi, the Matildas Olympic straw was unveiled this week. It was always going to be tough. There's only 12 teams there. Every group is tough, but gee whiz, the Tillies group is a tough one as well. The US women's national team's there. Germany is there, and Germany is who the Tillies play first up. There will be no room for error.
No, I played Germany first up at the 2000 Olympics, which wasn't fun. But I think Germany had a terrible World Cup. They got rid of their coach. They've got a new coach coming in, Christian Work, who's been in the German setup, in the underage setup, so understands the style of play. They've got quality players, Germany. What they haven't had is that cohesiveness and working together, and they're always tough to come up against, but they've got some world-class players there. But, you know, it's the first game of the Olympics, and I still believe we play better against the tougher oppositions. We're still trying to change our mentality of, you know, we're good as underdogs. You know, sometimes when we're favourites, I don't think we play as well. But I think, yeah, bring it on.
Fascinating to see how we'll go defending against Alexandra Pop as well. But we play the United States in the last group game. Now, in Tokyo, you might remember the two teams had a bit of a biscotto, agreed not to attack each other late and settle for a 0-0 draw. They both progressed to the knockouts as a result. I want this game to be live. I want to knock the USA out. That's what I'm hoping for, Niamh.
Their first tournament under Emma Hayes as well.
Oh, even better. Even better for all the marbles.
Story.
She's got a bit of work to do, doesn't she? I mean, if anyone can do it, Emma can. But I think the players themselves are hugely excited to have her on board. Such a respected coach within the game, not just for her tactical ability, but her player management is second to none. And her ability to get the best out of individuals in a team environment that's very competitive, and you have egos and you have expectation from players that they should be playing, and she manages that week in, week out at Chelsea. I think she's a very good fit for the USA, and you know they'll be out to impress her as well.
You mentioned the Sydney Olympics. You played in 2000 at that home Olympic Games. Talk to us about why, in a very different tournament to the World Cup, the Olympics experience is such a special one for our female footballers in particular.
Yeah, it's completely different. You're in the athlete village and you're mixing with all the other Australian Olympians, and actually hearing how other athletes are doing and how they're competing. And in Sydney, we were just around the corner from Kathy Freeman. We had the baseball players next to us as well. So that interaction with other sports, and then you walk into a dining hall and there's superstars of world sport, you know, NBA players, Serena Williams just kind of bouncing around. It's a real spectacle, and there's a lot of stimulation, but it's all really positive. You know, it's all really positive stimulation. And I think after Tokyo, where the players had none of that, and Paris and the venues in Paris, I mean, I'm excited. I want to go.
You're going to start talking about croissants in a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Before you do, while you start daydreaming about croissants, let's have a look at Teo's top tip and what he had to say last week.
My top tip is that Western Sydney Wanderers will beat Western United.
I do believe that's 2 in a row, which is unheard of, Teo. You're on a streak.
Yeah, let's go chips in. Here's your top 6 as of this time next weekend at the end of the home and away season. First, Sydney FC. Second, Melbourne City. Third, the Central Coast Mariners. Fourth, the Western Sydney Wanderers. Fifth, Western United. Sixth, forgive me, homeland, the Newcastle Jets.
No Melbourne victory in finals this year.
That's my top tip.
Wow. Well, do you know what? Melbourne Victory fans will be stoked to hear it, because across the course of the season, I mean, 2 is definitely...
I reckon I'm nearing 50%. I reckon I'm getting pretty close.
I reckon you're rounding up big time. Pellizzeri,
I reckon no one from Victory is ever talking to you again.
You're not going to be welcome back in Victoria at all. Thanks so much for your company.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eva.
Thank you for your company at home as well. We'll be back next Sunday after the final round of the Liberty A-League season. We will frame up finals football for you. See you then.